Jim Rosenheim, I think he's close to perfect. He's an amazing dad. He's a consummate jeweler.
He's a mix of Dr. Phil, Oprah, and a cage fighter. He is really formidable.
He's probably the most difficult customer I've ever had in my life, and I've had him in my life for 30 years. But with difficulty comes reward, and I've got to tell you, I learned a lot from Jim.
He brings so much knowledge that's so rooted in the history of jewelry. He can deliver insights on so many levels.
He conveys his passion and his love for the pieces, and he loves to educate people. He loves to engage with someone who's interested in fashion or gemology or something rare. So we always laugh in the store that when my father gets done with a customer, they're qualified to work at the store. While a lot of retailers are afraid to be different, my father is afraid to be the same. That willingness to take a risk on something that's not proven, I think really distinguishes him from a lot of other retailers. He was one of the first people to purchase jewelry from iconic designers like David Yurman, like Marco Bicego, like Stephen Webster, like Penny Prevost.
To a young person, their first year standing there in a booth, they're just out there in the woods, they don't know what's going on, and if he comes up to you and you have work of merit, there's nothing better than having someone of his stature embrace you and say, just keep going. You're on the right track. You just don't know how good this is going to get if you just keep going on the same track. That's a gift that I still remember 23 years later. He's very generous, but he's been very generous to us and given a piece of his mind over the years too.
He says it like it is, and sometimes it's not always the most pleasant moment in your life, but it's real.
My father never rests and is always asking himself how he can do it better.
I would say in a nutshell that we have been able to make jewelry that has satisfied him, which is not easy. And the amount of sales that have been produced sometimes are extraordinary, but Jim's attitude is kind of like, you can do better. Come on, Yurman, you can do better.
Our original store that was opened by my grandmother and grandfather was very tiny. It was a breezeway. It was too narrow to be an alleyway. My father wanted to build a store that felt like it had been there for 100 years. And I think it was his mission and his passion to create something that was unique.
It's one of the finest stores, from an aesthetic point of view, from a design point of view, in the United States.
He's a collector first and an appreciator of these fine things. So he lays out a beautiful eclectic mix, coffee table made of roses. Who does that? Jim does.
There's almost no better place for it than Washington, D.C., because it's a store that enjoys unbelievable heritage. It evokes a sense of history and family history.
It's a richness of character that attracts the people that are there to see Jim and Matt and engage in all those interesting things he brings to it.
When you talk about human spirit and when you talk about that sense of sharing, I think that has a halo effect.
He is very grateful for what the jewelry business has given him, and I think his desire is to find ways that he can give back.
He represents, first and foremost, an excellence in the standards, whether it's his personal conduct of his family or his employees.
Everything about my father in business emanates from a platform of integrity. There's no differentiation between his business values and his personal values.
I've stood at his counter for 20 years doing trunk shows, and I've seen more people in tears, either from laughter or for joy of something happening, than I've seen anywhere in the country.
He's a big heart, and I learn something every time I'm in his presence. He's so connected to who he is.
He's so in tune with human nature and also human creativity.
He's an amazing guy, and I feel honored to know him for over 30 years.
I think he really loves us. He really has embraced us, and there's probably 40 designers out there that could say the same thing.
I feel like he is a brother, actually. So that's why I do take his abuse, because I know what brothers do. They sort of needle you and deflate your ego, which is, God, everyone needs deflated ego.
My father is always looking for that new thing, and I think his only frustration is not having more time to look at more jewelry and to expose himself, and he has never grown tired of that. I don't think he really will ever grow tired of that. He loves the products, and he really loves the people, and he has a true, deep love for the jewelry industry.